The rain was coming down in sheets the day I found out about Isolde, and well, let's just call him Jasper. I'm Cyril, and until that day I thought I had a pretty good life. I was 46, a software architect in Seattle and married to Isolde for 15 years. We had a nice house in Queen Anne, 2 cars, a golden retriever named Gus, and what I thought was a solid, loving relationship. It started subtly. Isolde, who worked as a marketing director for a local coffee chain, began working later and later. She'd always been career-driven, so I didn't think much of it at first. Big project, she'd say, kissing me on the cheek before rushing out the door. Gotta impress the higher-ups. I'd make dinner for myself, walk Gus, and wait for her to come home, usually around 9 or 10. I missed our evenings together, but I understood. Or at least I thought I did. The first red flag was the perfume. Isolde always wore a light floral scent, something subtle and clean. But suddenly she was wearing something different, something musky and expensive. I remember asking her about it one night. "New client gift," she said, shrugging. "They wanted us to test it out." I didn't push it, but something felt off. Then came the texts. Isolde was always glued to her phone, but lately it was different. She'd clutch it tightly, her thumbs flying across the screen, a secretive smile playing on her lips. If I walked into the room, she'd quickly lock it or turn it face down. One evening I was looking for the TV remote and accidentally knocked her phone off the coffee table. As I picked it up, the screen lit up with a message. "Can't wait to see you tonight." My heart clenched. I didn't read the sender's name, but I didn't need to. I just knew. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was a friend, a harmless flirtation, but the feeling wouldn't go away. It gnawed at me, a constant, dull ache in my chest. That weekend, Isolde said she had a conference in Portland. "It's a big one," she said, packing her suitcase. "Lots of networking opportunities." I offered to drive her to the airport, but she declined. "I'm taking the train," she said. "Easier to work on the way." As soon as she left, I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was lying. I knew I was being irrational, but I had to know the truth. I waited an hour, then I went into her office. I knew it was wrong, a violation of her privacy, but I couldn't stop myself. I needed to see her emails. Isolde's password was easy to guess, our anniversary date. I typed it in and her inbox opened. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her messages. There were dozens of emails from Jasper, all filled with sickeningly sweet nothings. "I can't stop thinking about you," he wrote in one. "Every moment away from you is torture." I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room started to spin. I kept scrolling, my eyes scanning the screen, searching for some explanation, some justification. But there was none. It was all there in black and white. The lies, the deceit, the betrayal. One email in particular caught my eye. It was a hotel confirmation in Seattle for that very night. The name on the reservation, Jasper. I printed out all the emails, my hands shaking so badly I could barely feed the paper into the printer. Then I sat down at her desk and just stared at the wall, numb. My world had just crumbled around me and I didn't know what to do. That night I did something I never thought I was capable of. I followed her. I knew it was pathetic, but I couldn't help myself. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I drove to the train station and waited. An hour later, Isolde stepped off the train looking radiant. She was wearing a different outfit than the one she'd packed, a slinky black dress that showed off her figure. She looked happy, happier than I'd seen her in months. I followed her as she got into a taxi. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. The taxi drove to a downtown hotel, a swanky place with a revolving door and a valet parking. I watched as Isolde got out of the taxi and walked inside. I parked my car down the street and waited. I must have sat there for 2 hours, my mind racing, my heart pounding. I imagined all sorts of scenarios, confronting her in the lobby, barging into the room, screaming and yelling. But in the end, I did nothing. I just sat there and watched. Around midnight, I saw him. A man in a sharp suit emerged from the hotel, his arm around Isolde's waist. They were laughing, their faces close together. I couldn't see his face clearly, but I could tell he was younger than me, more handsome, more everything. That was it. That was the moment I broke. Something inside me snapped. I started the car and drove home, tears streaming down my face. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I couldn't stay in that marriage any longer. The next morning, Isolde came home, all smiles and apologies for being late. "The conference went great," she said, kissing me on the cheek. I learned so much. I looked at her lying eyes, and I felt nothing but contempt. I wanted to scream, to yell, to tear her apart. But I didn't. I just calmly walked into the office and placed the stack of printed emails on her desk. She stared at them, her face slowly draining of color. "What is this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "You know exactly what it is," I said, my voice cold and hard. "I know about Jasper. I know about everything." She started to cry, begging me to forgive her. "It was a mistake," she sobbed. "I didn't mean for it to happen. Please, Cyril, don't leave me." But I was done. I was completely and utterly done. "I want a divorce," I said, "and I want you out of this house by the end of the week." She tried to argue, to plead, to manipulate me. But I wouldn't budge. I'd seen the truth, and I couldn't unsee it. Our marriage was over. The divorce was messy, as divorces usually are. Isolde fought me every step of the way, trying to get as much money as she could. She even tried to claim that I was abusive, which was a complete lie. But I had the emails, and I had the truth on my side. In the end, she didn't get much. I kept the house, the cars, and Gus. She got a small settlement and a bruised ego. I found out later that Jasper wasn't just some random guy Shed met at a conference. He was her boss, the CEO of the coffee chain. And he was married too. Apparently, Isolde wasn't the only one he was sleeping with. He had a reputation for preying on vulnerable women in the office, promising them promotions and favors in exchange for their affections. When his wife found out about Isolde, she went ballistic. She hired a lawyer and threatened to expose his dirty secrets to the board of directors. He was forced to resign in disgrace. Isolde's career also took a hit. She was fired from her job, and her reputation was ruined. No one wanted to hire a woman who'd slept with the boss and broken up his marriage. For a while, I felt a sense of satisfaction. They both got what they deserved, but it didn't last. The truth was, I was still hurting. The betrayal had left a deep scar, one that I didn't know if it'd ever fully heal. I started seeing a therapist who helped me process my emotions and move on with my life. It wasn't easy, but slowly I started to feel like myself again. One day, about a year after the divorce, I ran into Isolde at a grocery store. She looked different, older, tired, defeated. She was pushing a shopping cart with a small child in it. "Cyril," she said, her voice barely audible. "How are you?" "I'm doing well," I said, trying to keep my voice neutral. "And you?" she sighed. "Not so great. I am a single mom now. Jasper left me as soon as his wife found out about the baby." I stared at her, at the baby in the cart, and I felt a pang of something I hadn't expected: pity. I realized that Shed made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and she was paying for it. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, genuinely meaning it. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "I messed up, Cyril, I know that. I thought I was in love. I didn't say anything. What could I say? I'd been in love too, and look where it had gotten me. I hope you find happiness, Cyril," she said, her voice cracking. "I hope you do too, Isolde," I said. And then I walked away. I never saw her again. But I often think about her, about the choices she made and the consequences she faced. And I am grateful that I had the strength to walk away, to start over, to find my own happiness. It wasn't easy, but it was worth it. Years have passed. I've since met someone new, a wonderful woman named Meredith, who loves me for who I am. We're building a life together, a life based on honesty, trust, and mutual respect. And I know deep down that I am finally where I am supposed to be. Betrayal can break you, but it can also make you stronger. It can teach you valuable lessons about yourself, about others, and about the importance of choosing wisely. And sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and finding your own happiness. This is the story of how I discovered my wife's affair and the emotional roller coaster that followed. From finding those damning emails to the final confrontation, I experienced heartbreak and anger like never before. The affair ended both their careers and left me to rebuild my life. It was a journey through betrayal, divorce, and ultimately finding peace and happiness again. Remember, sometimes walking away is the strongest thing you can do. Thanks for listening.